Hi, everybody. We're just waiting for my guest of honor to join us today. There she is, Rachel Rafferty. So we're just going to begin this Instagram live session for Heriot-Watt University, our links department, the Languages and Intercultural Studies department here. Give you a chance to get to know us a little bit. You get to see the perspective of staff. I'm staff, and you get to see the department from the perspective of a student. Rachel Rafferty on the call here was a student with us until last year when she graduated. My name is Owen Harrington. I'm part of the Spanish section at Heriot-Watt University. We have a number of sections in our department. We've got Spanish, French, Chinese, German, cultural studies. And in general, a summary of our department is that we teach language with a purpose. So we don't only just teach language for the sake of learning how to speak a language, but the headline for us, or selling point for us, is that we teach language so that you learn what to do, so that you learn to do something with that language. And to that end, we have a very applied set of programs. We specialize in translation and we specialize in interpreting, as well as offering other branches of applied language and cultural studies. So I'm a specialist in translation, as Rachel knows, and I'm in the Spanish section. We generally offer 4-degree programs, and I think Rachel Rafferty was in the LINT program. Would you like to say hello to the Instagram live audience, Rachel?
Yeah. So my name is Rachel, as Owen has said, and I did do the LINT programme. I graduated Heriot-Watt in 2019, is that right? Yes, I think so. And my degree was in the translating and interpreting, yeah.
Good stuff. So a couple of the main points of why people like studying with Heriot-Watt University. I think we have fantastic facilities, great equipment. We've got interpreting labs where our students get to try out their interpreting skills, how to translate from one language to another, both with documents, via text, and via voice as well. Our programs are 4 years, and I guess one of the things that really attracts students to our programs is this year 3, this year abroad experience that we offer as part of our degrees, one which we really value staff, because it means that our students get to go abroad for 6 months in one country and 6 months in another country if students are learning 2 languages. And that experience for us as staff is invaluable, because it means our students really come back really prepared and with their life experience very much enriched. Just to give you an overview, if you study Spanish, you'll go and spend 6 months in Spain. If you study French, you'll go and spend 6 months in France. If you study German, you can go to one of our university or partner universities in Germany or in Austria, for example. And these are all universities in Europe that we've handpicked ourselves. These are universities that we thought are fantastic for our students and the kind of things that our students would want to learn and engage with on their year abroad experience. Do you want to talk a little bit about your year abroad experience, Rachel? Give the people a feel of the kind of things that you did.
Yeah, of course. So I was lucky enough to study 2 languages at university. So I did French and Spanish, which meant that I was really lucky, as Owen just said, to study in 2 countries during my year abroad. So I went over to France and I actually studied in Paris for my first semester, and then went to Spain for the second semester and studied in the other capital in Madrid. And for me, it was just such an amazing experience, and one that honestly I will hold with me for the rest of my life, because it's just a year like no other. It is definitely such an interesting year, not just from an academic point of view, but some of the friends that I've made in my year abroad from various places all over the world, even places here in the UK, I will keep with me for the rest of my life. So it has definitely been a brilliant experience. It did wonders for my language skills, because you're living there, you're totally immersed, you're totally experiencing what it is like to be Spanish or what it is like to be French, and that you can't duplicate environment, and it's just such a brilliant experience. And certainly, as you say, it certainly prepared me and my classmates for coming back into our final year. And I feel like between that second and third year, you just experience so much, and it's a brilliant year, as I've said, both from the academic point of view, but also that social side as well. And it's the only time in my life I'll be able to live in Paris. It's not something that I'll probably be able to afford to do in the future. Who knows?
You have a question here, Rachel, of which one was your favorite, Paris or Madrid?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I'm not sure. I love them both, I would say, for different reasons. I loved Paris because it's very quintessentially French. It was such an amazing experience. It's, as I've said, it's not somewhere that I would probably live again, because it's such a difficult, like, it's quite an expensive city, but it was brilliant to be surrounded by all those amazing kind of big buildings, surrounded by all the monuments. It was brilliant. It was fantastic. And the food as well is always a good one. And that's what I loved about Madrid. All the food, the people in Spain were so friendly in Madrid. My university were brilliant as well. And I've made friends in both places that, as I say, I still keep in touch with, and I plan to meet up with hopefully very soon.
Steph is asking if you studied both languages. That's a good question. Did you study both languages before going to university?
I did. I actually had quite an interesting experience. Now, I am from Scotland, so I'm going to give quite a Scottish kind of perspective on things here. But I studied French right the way up until my final year at school, so for the full 6 years. However, I only started studying Spanish in the last 2 years of my high school, so I crashed what's known as in Scotland a higher in Spanish. So I'd never done it before. Which meant that I was kind of coming to university having a lot less experience in Spanish than I had in French. However, I would say now I finished university, my Spanish has worked out probably better than my French, which is probably for various reasons, the year abroad being a contributing factor, and also just the support from a lot of the faculty there has just been absolutely brilliant. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually, because not everybody, although we encourage students to study 2, even 3 languages if they can with their degree, most students won't come with 2 languages very well prepared from their high school experience. So we always offer those ab initio beginner courses for students such as Rachel, who took up Spanish from year 1 and then was able to go on Erasmus on her year abroad experience in Madrid 2 years after beginning her studies in Spanish. Caitlin is asking, how many languages can you study at Heriot-Watt? And I think I'm probably best placed to answer that question. So we offer Spanish, French, German, Chinese in the International Business Management program, and we also offer British Sign Language. So we have a degree specifically for British Sign Language, but you can also mix British Sign Language with either Spanish, French, or German. Generally, we would encourage students to take at least 2 of those languages, if not 3. But you can focus on just one language with the Applied Language Studies course. So you might want to focus more on French or on Spanish or on German, BSL, whatever it may be, and you can do that with that course. So the benefits of studying 2 or 3 languages are there for all to see. Becca is asking, did you study your languages to advance higher? And if so, do you think that helped you when you went to university? Because that's the stage she's at with both French and Spanish.
That is a very, very good question. I did study advanced higher in both French and Spanish. I would say it helped me more with my confidence rather than anything else. I'd say it left me a little bit more confident kind of using the language, especially with the way that the advanced higher speaking exam is laid out. I would say that is something that was probably very similar to the way that Heriot-Watt runs the speaking element. So that was a really good transition, and it made that a little bit easier. That said, I do know that many of my classmates came to Heriot-Watt with varying levels, as Owen has said, of previous language skills, and all you get out of it what you put in, and there's so much support behind you. So there's so many different opportunities for you to pick up another language or to get extra support in another language and different things like that. As I say, there's lots of people that maybe only did it to higher or haven't done it in a couple of years and were able to go on Erasmus and all of these different amazing opportunities. So it really, if you're not doing an advanced higher, I wouldn't at any disadvantage. If you are doing it, it is a really good opportunity just to get you a little bit more confident and to make that transition maybe a little bit easier.
Brilliant. There's a question here about your year abroad. Did you go to university? Did you work?
Yeah, so sorry, I probably didn't make that very clear. Yes, I did go to university. So I went to one of the universities in Paris. I was lucky enough to go to a branch of the Sorbonne, which is a brilliant university. It was really, really good fun. And I went to the Autonomous University of Madrid. That said, I do know that some of my colleagues didn't go to university during their placements and instead did a British Council placement. I know that one of my classmates did it in Spain, and she had an amazing opportunity working in a school context, and it was just a really, really good opportunity for her to be in a workplace environment. So I know that, especially when I did my year abroad, that there was two kind of opportunities to choose from. That said, I do think most people chose to go to university just for the kind of familiarity of it, and also the social side was always a good thing as well, being at university.
Yeah, what I would add to that is that in that year 3 experience, it's probably your only opportunity to go and experience a university in a different country, whether it's in Spain or in France or in Germany, Chile. We have a partnership as well with Chile if you're studying Spanish. And that British Council option, while it is there for year 3 students, and some students do take it up, that's always there. So you can even take that up after you finish your degree and go working for the British Council as a teaching assistant here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, and just like you've said, I think the university element of it is such a standout experience. It's something that as you've said, I'll never be able to do again, and it's something I absolutely loved. And you meet so many people, you're the same age doing the same things, just they so happen to be studying in Paris instead of in Edinburgh, and it's brilliant. It's such a good experience. So I would 100% recommend that.
Good question from Matilda.
Yeah, how did you manage money when abroad? So I don't really know how it works. I don't know if maybe things have changed, but you are funded, especially as a Scottish student. Your fees are still paid to Heriot-Watt, so that sort of side of it. But to be honest, I wasn't really worried very much about the money. I was more so worried about going out and meeting new people and experiencing new things. And yeah, as I say, I was at a stage where I kind of would worry about how much money I had when I came home in my final year, and then had to work out then. I was taking that summer between my year abroad and my 4th year to worry about it. But I would say the year abroad priority for me was having all these amazing experiences.
So Steph is asking if you'd be able to take a language on the side of another course at the university, and that is a possibility. One of those courses sits within our department, which is International Business Management, and a language. So you can do things like economics, human resources. That's 50% of your degree, economics. And you'll also do another 50% with a language. It may be Spanish, French, Chinese in this case as well. And that's become a very popular degree. There's also an opportunity in the university if you're doing something like economics as a standalone degree, or mathematics from another faculty completely. You can take one language as one of your electives, which an elective is a course that you can choose to fill your timetable. That's also a possibility, Steph. Dan is asking if everybody spoke to you in French and Spanish on your year abroad.
Yes, they did. Don't get me wrong, there was times when having to explain that there was a power outage in my flat, that was certainly an interesting experience where you have to really cope with your language skills or using the resources you've got around you to figure it out. But mostly, yeah, the university, pretty much all of my classes were delivered in French and Spanish, which, like I said, was such a good opportunity, although it seemed a little bit daunting at first. It was brilliant because it really did up my language skills so much. And to be honest, it does it without you even necessarily realising, because you're too busy focusing on the class to notice that your language skills are going up. So yes, it does. But don't get me wrong, there was certainly times when I needed a bit of support and I was like, oh, can somebody help me? And there's always people around you to help. And even if it isn't just other people within the course, I know we all had a huge big group chat that we all helped each other out in when there was instances like that. So yeah, it's a good opportunity, but you've got enough support, so don't worry.
As somebody who was your lecturer, Rachel, I'd actually be interested to see what your motivations were when you were in high school. when did you decide, and why did you decide to apply for a language course at Heriot-Watt University?
So for me, I would say I had two main selling points. The first thing for me was when I was in my second last year of high school, I had a visit from Heriot-Watt University along with my year group, in which one of the lecturers ran a live interpreting event for us. And it was just to kind of show us what Heriot-Watt did and show us what fourth year students who had studied for 4 years, which realistically was only maybe 5 years after that, what they were capable of. And that, for me, I just remember being gobsmacked and being like, that's what I want to do. Sit and study and higher French and Spanish, thinking, right, that's what I want to do. So that was a huge selling point, being able to see the kind of skills that the staff and the course at Heriot-Watt can really, really help people to achieve was absolutely fantastic. Another selling point for me was, as I say, I went to school quite locally, so my school were lucky enough to attend the multilingual debate, which is a debate that Heriot-Watt run every year, which is conducted with speakers from various different countries or who have various different first languages, and it's conducted in their first language, in their native language, with the fourth year interpreting students interpreting through the booths. And I remember sitting in my uniform thinking, that is what I want to do. It was amazing to see not only the technology and the facilities that the uni were able to offer, but also, as I say, the skills that these fourth years were able to exhibit was just outstanding. And that is definitely something that drove me to want to apply for Heriot-Watt.
Brilliant. Caitlin is actually asking if you'd have any piece of advice that you would give people that want to study abroad.
That's a good question, Caitlin. To be honest, I would say just take every opportunity that you're given, whether that is an academic opportunity and it's picking up a class, or whether it is going out for dinner with some of your flatmates that you probably don't know very well, because, as I say, you end up making friends for life and they're from all over the world, and often your common language is French, Spanish, German, wherever you are. So it's a good opportunity to use that as well.
And David is asking, that's an interesting question as well from the academic side. Did you find that there were big differences between the kind of coursework that you had to do at Heriot-Watt University and the kind of coursework that you encountered then on your year abroad?
That is a really good question. I think naturally there are differences. Every country kind of does things a little bit differently, and even every university does things differently. So I know that I was having a different experience with my coursework to what other universities were having. What I would say, however, is in terms of workload, I wouldn't say that it was anything different at all. Because you're an Erasmus student, there's loads of support, at least in my experience in both of the universities I was at, and from speaking to my colleagues, there's a lot of support put in place for Erasmus students in the welcome in the host universities, which was really helpful, things like coursework. It was also really interesting to just get an insight into how it's, as you've said, we'll never get that opportunity to be in another university to see how the coursework is run. So no, I wouldn't say there was too big differences in terms of the kind of workload, but of course there was differences in terms of just silly things like the fact that everything is marked out of 20 in France was something that didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, Matilda's just saying there that she's having some difficulty keeping her French and Spanish together, and I would encourage you to do whatever you can to keep those skills up, Matilda, because one stat that I always like to throw around is that only 6% of the population in the UK can speak 3 languages. So if you're one of those 6%, it means that you're kind of part of an elite group of people in the UK with a very specific skill set. With Rachel, we've spent a lot of time kind of looking back towards your degree and looking back towards your high school experience. We know now that you're a secondary school teacher in Armadale here, very local to Edinburgh, very close to Heriot-Watt University. And I was just wondering the kind of multilingual and multicultural experiences that you had at Heriot-Watt University, how has that translated into you forging a career in languages and specifically in teaching now?
I think that my degree has honestly stood me in such good stead. In terms of the multicultural element, it's been absolutely brilliant. Going into a workplace, you end up working with people from all over the world, and it's certainly something that having that experience of working or studying in France and Spain, for example, one of my colleagues in the English department is from Spain, so you've always got that kind of cultural element in the staff, but also it's a love for languages and a love for culture that I will always have in me and that I can pass on to hopefully the pupils that I've got in front of me. So it's absolutely brilliant, and it's certainly something that I will always try and include in my lessons and kind of heighten a bit of cultural knowledge, because the more cultural knowledge you have about different countries, whether it's France, Spain, Germany, whatever, the greater appreciation you have for these places. So yeah.
There's a difficult question here, a very technical question about how difficult by instant translation, I think we would call that simultaneous interpreting. So this idea that somebody is speaking like I am now, and there would be somebody beside me doing the same speech but in a different language at the same time. And it's not easy. It's not easy. It's the reason why we've equipped our labs with the latest technology and the latest software. And it's the reason why we have staff that have been there and done that, and they're interpreters, so that they can help students like Rachel to attain and hone the kind of skills that you need to have to be able to do something like simultaneous interpreting, which is not easy, but I think is hugely rewarding.
Without a doubt. And it's certainly one of those skills as well that's really, really specific to the course at Heriot-Watt, and something again that drew me to the course was, as Owen pointed out at the start, the applied element of the course. And that's a skill that is very, very specific and a very useful skill to have. And it's not easy. No, I'm not going to say at all, but we were very, very well prepared, and we were not just thrown in at the deep end. We were given loads of support from all of our lecturers. We were given loads of practice, lots of things like that. So no, it's not easy, but you're not just kind of thrown in blindly.
Caitlin is asking how you're enjoying your teaching experience.
Yeah, it's really good. It's brilliant. As I've said before, it's really good to kind of pass on the love that I have for languages to other people, which is brilliant, and hopefully encourage some of my pupils. Don't know if any of them will be able to go to Heriot-Watt. I've been selling it in school, so yeah, they're probably sick
Would
to
you consider learning another language on top of French and Spanish?
Without a doubt, yeah. I would love to learn another language. I'm not quite sure what that language would be. I know that I got a bit of experience. I did 2 years of studying German while I was at Heriot-Watt. Just like Owen was saying, you can choose another language as an elective, and I thought rather than choosing something cultural, I wanted to get a bit of experience with another language. So I would love to maybe continue that, or maybe choose another language. I'm not quite sure.
There's somebody asking about the kind of career paths. Jennifer, I think, was asking about the kind of career paths that you can take with languages. And languages is the kind of thing that really opens up a whole host of opportunities. So we have graduates that are working in teaching, such as Rachel, but we've also got people working in the EU as interpreters, as staff interpreters. We've a couple of graduates working for Netflix as well as subtitlers, because subtitling is one of the courses that we offer at Heriot-Watt University as well. And beyond that, because languages, it prepares you for language-specific careers, but as well, it prepares you for other career paths where language is a distinct advantage. We've graduates working for ITV, putting together documentaries and things like that. So there's no one specific answer to what you're asking, Jennifer, because languages isn't like medicine, where if you study medicine, you become a doctor. But you have a whole host of opportunities to avail of when you enter the job market. Dan is asking for a little bit of interpreting, and I'm afraid we don't have time to do an interpreting exercise at the moment. But we do have videos on our Twitter account if you'd like to see one of our students do an interpretation. He interpreted for, I don't know if anybody is into football here, but he did an interpretation for Steven Gerrard last year, and we have that video up on Twitter if you'd like to see it. It's our handle is at HWLinks, LINCS, so you'd be able to find that, Dan. Megan is asking, do you think that learning a second language makes it easier to go on and learn a third? I'm going to say yes to that, but I'll also let Rachel answer that question.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think part of learning a language is having the skills to learn a language. And I think once you've acquired some of those skills, it certainly stands you in good stead for learning another one. I think that's why perhaps a combination of the support and as well as having those skills from learning French, why it was perhaps easier for me to pick up Spanish a little bit later as well.
And Becca is asking if you found it difficult finding a job after university. I think that she says that people who study languages are often encouraged to teach, but that's not really what. Yeah, Becca. So my answer, I think, a couple of minutes ago applies to that question as well. But I'll let Rachel answer you.
Without a doubt. And that's something that I was never, throughout my whole career, none of the lecturers encouraged me to go down a specific route. It was very much, as Owen's just said, where you have a wealth of opportunities that you could explore. And even the fact that the courses, we have one course that allows you to specialise in interpreting and one course that does not allow that opportunity and instead allows you to specialise in the translation. The fact that those courses run so similarly up until the final year gives you so much time, so much opportunity to make that decision. So I don't feel as though I was ever kind of pushed into a specific area. And actually, when I started university, I don't even think I really wanted teaching. Wasn't even in my frame of mind, nothing at all. But I think it has been very easy for me to get a job after university. I think that the Heriot-Watt course, especially within not only teaching but so many other fields, is very, very well known. They teach so many great, not only language skills but interpersonal skills that just mean their graduates are very, very well known. So I know that a lot of my colleagues have found that as well. So yeah, that's definitely something that's made it a lot easier.
We've got two, maybe two final questions, and we'll take them in reverse order. Naylor is asking what your level of fluency was like after your year abroad, and was there a big difference in your speaking ability between year 2 and year 3? And after that, Steph is asking if you have any top tips for anybody who's maybe in high school or an S5 or an S6 or thinking about applying for languages in Heriot-Watt. So you might answer those two to see us out, Rachel.
Yeah, of course. So I'll go back to the first one about the level of fluency. For me, there was a huge difference in the level of my spoken language at the end of my second year versus at the start of my final year when I came back in September. I would say the year abroad was the main reason for that. It was the reason that happened. But I would say a lot of it is to do with just the confidence that you gain in your year. So that is definitely something. And as I say, a lot of the time you're learning the language skills and you're not even knowing because you're just making friends or you're out for dinner. So yeah, definitely did up my language skills. And finally, for Steph's top tip, I would kind of just say have the confidence to go for it, to consider languages. A lot of people that I know that have studied a language have done it alongside else, like the business degree that Owen has spoken about previously, but I also had a friend that studied chemistry with the language. There's so many opportunities that are open to you when you just add that language on there. It opens a completely new door. So yeah, that would be my biggest thing, is whatever you're thinking about doing, try adding that language on and see what difference it makes.
Yeah, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed catching up with you, Rachel, and hearing all about your experiences. And it's great to see that you're doing so well not so long after graduating. And thank you very much for joining us today and talking a little bit about your experience in Heriot-Watt.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been really great to answer some of the questions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for your time. I hope you have a nice evening or what remains of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.